Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And today, well, today is Hump Day.
Uh-oh. Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's Hump Day.
Hump Day!
It's Hump Day.
Hump Day!
That's right, folks. Today is Hump Day. This is the day in which we attempt to begin the weekend, sometimes with success, sometimes not. But as I always like to say, the fun is all in the trying. Well, I am here, folks. You are here. We're going to have a good time talking about Second Amendment issues, talking about, politics from a conservative perspective, or as I like to say, from an everyday person's perspective. So, we're going to have a good time. Mike is not going to be with us today, but once again, I'm here, you're here. So let's have that conversation. By the way, if you're watching the program live, that means 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. You're watching us on YouTube. You're watching us on Twitter. You're watching us on Rumble. You're watching us on Facebook. We're live. And I'm monitoring your comments. I'm following it right over here, right there. I'm checking out your comments. And if you got something that I find to be interesting, well, hey, we'll go ahead and share your comments. Now, I don't believe you have to agree with me, and that's my standard rule. My standard rule is you do not have to be in agreement, but you do have to be interesting. Because, well, let's just be honest. When you disagree with us, we do reserve the right to mock you.
Oh wow, is that a mockingbird?
Man, is that a mockingbird? Is that a mockingbird?
That's right. As Mike would say, we will mock you. In any case, let's go ahead and get into the program, and we're going to start off doing what we usually do, and that is, we usually start off with a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with folks over at Hitman Industries, rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase at any length. Just go to hitmanindustries.net. If you've owned an AR, if you purchased an AR recently, chances are you already have one of their barrels. Why not get another one, whether you're looking to do a brand new build or whether you're looking to, rebarrel an old rifle. Check them out today, Hitman Industries. Then we've got the California Republican Assembly working to help elect conservatives at all levels of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. Ronald Reagan once referred to CRA as the conscience of the Republican Party. Folks, this is the largest and fastest growing conservative grassroots organization in the state of California. Check them out at cragop.org. That's cragop.org. If you want to be a part of California's future today, you've got to join CRA. And then we've got the folks over at Hog Holsters. That's right, the best in concealed carry tactical holsters available on the market. Go there, check them out today. Make sure you use the discount code of the Rundown, all caps, no spaces, one word, just like it is right up there, and you're going to get a discount on us. Just go to hogholsters.com. That's HAWG holsters.com, helping Americans wear guns. And then you've got the place to go if you need tactical gear. Trust me, if you're looking for outdoor gear, if you're looking for cold weather gear, wet weather gear, whether you're looking for hats, you're looking for water bottle, trust me, whatever it is. The place to go is uscombatgear.com. They specialize in group sales. So if you're looking for a big discount and maybe you're a purchaser for your group, for your club, for your agency, for your unit, you need to go to uscombatgear.com, where you can find all things tactical except the gun. All right. Getting into today's news. Now, this first story here, let's just be real. We've talked about this before. There has been, for some reason, over the last decade, I would say, there's been this huge increase in the number of people identifying as LGBTQIA+. How do I know it's grown? Because the number of letters have grown. It used to be just LGBT, then it turned to LGBTQ, then it turned to LGBTQI, then IA+, then IA, then IA+, and the plus is just because they got tired of adding letters or symbols. They just got tired of it. But we saw actually a dramatic increase in the number of people, in particular young people, by the way, identifying as LGBTQ, or specifically, though, the biggest areas of growth were in the Q, which is the queer, and the queer and the, obviously questioning Yeah. And then in the transgender, but there is now a new report out, and it's being reported over at Breitbart, noting that transgender identification is in a free fall among young Americans. Once again, this is from Breitbart. Identifying as transgender and queer appears to be going out of fashion among young people, especially in elite settings, according to a new report from the Center for Heterodox Social Science. The report, authored by Eric Kaufman, director of the center and professor of politics at the University of Buckingham, found that transgender and queer identification has dropped sharply among young Americans in Generation Z since 2023. Kaufman analyzed troves of data from recent surveys about gender and sexuality, including the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, or FIRE survey, and surveys from elite institutions like Andover Phillips Academy in Boston and Brown University. Quote, wait, where is it at? Where is that? Here we go. Whether trans and queer identities will drop it to 2010 levels is an open question, but the fact both have declined sharply in just 2 years is a startling and an unanticipated post-progressive development that the education and media establishment will be reluctant to acknowledge, Kaufman wrote of his research in an article published in Unheard on Tuesday. And you see here, so if you see here, you look at these numbers. Going back to 2016, about 2% of the people identified. Well, that was at Brown. That was back over at Brown. So these are students not identifying as male or female. So these are identifying as others, right? So you look at, I guess they dated all the way back to Andover, goes all the way back to 2016, where it's 2%. Then it's like almost 0% in 2019, and then 2020. But then you notice here where they started measuring in 2020, all of a sudden it's just started going through the roof. I mean, as many as 9% at Andover were identifying as something other than male or female. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not lesbian or gay, but they're like, we're talking transgender or non-binary or one of the others. Now, the fact is that that's like that 9%, so you're talking 1 in 10 students were identifying as such. And yet now we've seen those numbers have basically more than been cut in half. Well, actually, I'm sorry, it's back down to 2% at Andover. It was at a high, yeah, it's about half now at according to Fire, and then Brown, it's about half as well. It says they're analyzing the raw data from the most recent FIRE survey, which polled over 60,000 students in 2025. Kaufman found that just 3.6 of respondents identify as a gender other than male or female. That figures compared to 5.2% in 2024 and 6.8% in 2022 and 2023. In other words, the share of trans-identified students has effectively halved in just 2 years. Kaufman found that surveys at Andover Phillips Academy and Brown University showed an even more pronounced trend. At Andover, 9.2% identified as neither male or female in 2023, but crashed to just 3% in 2025. At Brown University, that percentage has dropped from 5% in 2022-23 to 2.6% in 2025. And you see here in these things. So this first one here, share of students not identifying, we saw that one already. And then here you've got non-conforming sexual identity, queer questioning, etc., is also in a sharp decline. Going here, you see it's been on the rise, been on the rise, been on the rise, and then bam, all of a sudden it's fallen in just about every area. When looking at more surveys, including sexual orientation, the data reflect rising nonconformity from 2010 until 2023. followed by an almost 10-point swing back in 2024 and 2025, Kaufman found. Interestingly, when trans and queer trends were at their peak, freshmen were more likely to be non-conforming in their gender and sexuality than seniors. He noted. Now, the BTQ, bisexual, trans, queer, or questioning identification is in decline. The reverse is true. Younger students are less BTQ than older students in their colleges. This is a sign. This is a sign that fashions are changing. Let me say that again. And once again, this is from this is from the researcher that's being quoted here, not the publication. Contagion, particularly among young girls, right? Young girls identifying, and it was a trend that was being pushed by through TikTok and through Instagram. It was being amplified in academia and by the mainstream media, and it was so bad that it was, by the way, even the medical establishment was pushing this. In other words, if you dared to push against it, if you dared to say, well, no, maybe you're not really, maybe you're just going through a phase, you were considered a bigot. You were considered, well, in some cases, if you were a parent, you could lose custody of your kids for saying stuff like that. Yeah, that is, in fact, how bad it was. But that's what folks were dealing with. Weird, huh? I know. I know exactly what you're saying. I know exactly what you're thinking. You're like, this cannot be the case. No, it was, in fact, the case. That is exactly what's been going on. So, once again, gender dysphoria is a thing. Now, I will say this, it's not a physical thing, right? It's not a thing where, well, let me clarify. Could it be that there is something, a chemical issue in the brain that causes one to believe that they are not in the right body? Yes. I do not know that to be the case. I'm not a doctor nor a scientist, right? So it could be a chemical thing, but many, many mental health issues are actually, I won't say many. We know many. I can say many. I won't say most. I won't say all. But many mental health issues are, in fact, chemically driven in the brain, right? So a lot of times medication can help you get your brain right. All right. That's how you deal with that. May or may not be the physical part, but the way in which we've chosen in the West, in America, and less so now in Europe, the way we've chosen to deal with this psychological issue is basically physically altering the human body in order to conform with what the mind sees. Now, it doesn't actually conform, it just looks, or is an attempt to look like it conforms. Some cases they're more successful, in some cases they are less successful. But the reality is, in many of these cases, these may just be young people who are going through a biological change and they're just trying to figure themselves out. Right. And they're not as comfortable as their body is changing. They're not as comfortable in it. Right. Obviously, when you go through puberty, stuff happens and you don't always know how to deal with it. And your friends at that age are immature and they don't always know how to deal with it. So, what you should not be doing is saying, hey, let's give you some drugs that will alter your body for the rest of your life. Let's give you a surgery and remove functioning parts of your body that will, in such a way, and then do it to basically make a decision that will impact you for the rest of your life. And that's really, when it comes to a lot of this stuff, that's really where most people politically have been, that we shouldn't be allowing children to make those decisions. And we shouldn't have parents making those decisions for their children. We should wait till they're adults and let them make that decision when they are adults, because they've gone through what they've gone through for as long as they've gone through it. We don't know what the impact of a lot of these medications are on children. We do know what the impacts are on adults, and you can actually share that information with adults and they can make an adult decision if they want to alter their body permanently for the rest of their life. But a 12-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old should not be making that decision. And that's where many conservatives. Now, if you're, once again, I said again, if you're a grown adult and that's what you want to do, you do you. I I got none for you. You have a right. You have every right to do you. But the main thing that we're showing here is look how many people. Like I said, it's been cut in half. Now here's the question. I wonder how many people in that half have gone through, have been taking the medication, right? I wonder how many of them have gone through the surgeries and now regret it or will regret it. Because in some cases, they haven't seen the negative aspects of it yet. They don't know that they are now sterile, right? They don't know that they have osteoporosis. They don't know yet, and they probably won't know. And won't know for a bit. I can tell you this: I do know individuals who've gone through the change and then have fought to go back, have detransitioned, and they're still dealing with the medical consequences of the decision that they made to transition. And they will tell you this: they were given all sorts of positive affirmations and all of that as they went forward, as they were going through the change, and then when they realized that, and by the way, there were no warning signs. There was no, hey, maybe you should not. No, that was not a thing, right? It was not a thing at all. And then when they decided to detransition, guess what? Insurance didn't want to cover it. All the people who claim to love them and support them and support their choice, gone. They considered them to be turncoats, and they were left on their own by the people. All the people who took them through the process wouldn't help them go back through the process. They were considered sellouts. So yeah, it's a social contagion. A lot of people won't talk about the link in the number of people who have other mental health issues. They won't talk about the link in the high percentage of people who actually have autism, right? Uh, Again, there's so many things that are linked to it that you would think that they would be more careful about who they allow to engage in these processes, these medications and whatnot that once again permanently alter the human body. Anyway, I don't know if it's I don't know anyway. I don't know if it's an end to the thing. I don't know if we're coming back to a normality. Normally, in historically, about 1%, less than 1% of the population truly identifies as transgender. That's historically what it has been. About 3% of the population has identified as gay or bisexual. So when you put it all together, it's about 3%. But yeah, it's usually less than 1%. And I don't know if we're going back to that or not. Um, but I do know that Gen Z is different than the millennials. I know that they're more conservative than the millennials or Gen X or even the boomers. I know they tend to be more religious, right? They tend to be more people of faith than the generations before them. So anyway, it's going to be real interesting to see how everything pans out. But once again, uh, it's good to see that things are coming back to normal. I'm still waiting for the fallout from once again those people who made the decision to transition and now may or may not be regretting it. Uh, I pray for them, and I pray that there are resources that are going to be available to help them out. American Crossfire is pointing out a large amount of gender confusion gets better after puberty. That's true. I mean, that's what I said. It's usually a puberty thing. You know, little boys, little girls don't feel comfortable as their body's changing, and ain't nothing more cruel when it comes to making fun of people than a than a teenager or preteen, middle schooler. They'll tell you about yourself. They don't know how to pull punches either. Anyway, so it can make for a very challenging time. Also says here detransitioners are growing in numbers rapidly. Yes, that is quite true. And what I'm hoping is that there will be federal legislation that will open the door for these folks to get sued because they need the people who ran these systems, and this is what they found in Europe. In many cases, what they found was there were little to no roadblocks. There were little to no speed bumps to say, hey, are you sure this is the road you should be? I mean, normally you should have to go through a bunch of counseling and test and all of this other stuff before you even begin the actual process. But they found that they were putting people in the fast lane. In some cases, just doing what do they call it? Telehealth appointments with them, and then prescribing drugs. How crazy is that? I mean, once again, this is medication that will change your life. That could cause someone to be sterile. That could cause osteoporosis, and those are just the most known side effects that happen to adults. And then yet and by the way, and lie to you to tell you, oh yeah, it's completely reversible. As soon as you stop taking it, like, if you take it while you're in puberty, these puberty blockers, you'll go right into puberty after after you stop taking them. The human body doesn't work like that. Once again, I'm not a doctor. I did not sleep in a Holiday Inn Express last night, but I know the body doesn't work like that. Anyway, moving right along to our next topic. Oregon to spend more on health care on illegals than they are for state police. Once again, this is a report that's coming out of Breitbart. Breitbart's putting this out. It's coming out of the state of Oregon. It says here, report Dem-led Oregon on track to spend $500 million, that's $500 million, more for a health care program that includes illegals than for state police. It says here, Democrat-led state of Oregon is on track to spend $500 million more on a program that includes free health care for illegal immigrants than on its state police budget, according to reports. According to a state report, the Healthier Oregon program has a budget currently set at $1.3 billion. The program, which was launched in 2022, has seen a rise in 1,100% in costs since it launched. Meanwhile, the Oregon State Police have a budget of just over $717 million. Oregon Health Authority website says starting July 1st, 2023, immigration citizenship status will no longer affect whether someone qualifies for OHP, the full Oregon health program, meaning they're now giving health care to illegal immigrants. All right, Assistant Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Tricia McLaughlin, blasted the state for its obscenely lopsided budget. Absurd. Oregon will spend $500 million plus more on free health care for immigrants, regardless of legal status, than the state police in its current budget period, McLaughlin wrote on X on Tuesday. Oregon spent $1.5 billion in state and federal taxpayer dollars on a program that offers health benefits to illegal aliens from 2025 to 2027. She added they budgeted $717 million for the Oregon State Police. Voters of Oregon. This is a message for the voters of Oregon. The fact that they're willing to spend twice as much almost on providing health care to illegal immigrants than they are on the state police tells you where their priorities are. I think if someone tells you who they are, believe them. And that's exactly what they're telling you. They're telling you that those who've chosen to come into this country illegally and stay here illegally are more important than those who have taken an oath to protect and serve the people of Oregon. And that means that the illegal immigrants are more important than the people of Oregon to them, right? That's their perspective. How do we know? There's two things my dad always taught me about. If you want to know where someone's priorities are, there's two things you check. You check their calendar and you check their checkbook. Yeah, we grew up in the era of checkbooks. But the point is that where are they spending their time and where are they spending their money? Let me tell you, folks, they ain't spending it on you. Gotta love the state of Oregon, the People's Republic of Oregon, because gotta love them, because Lord knows they really don't. Well, I don't know if they don't love you. I don't know if they don't like you. I don't know what it is, but they definitely do not prioritize you. How about that? All right, I've been seeing on Facebook, and you've been seeing on Facebook, all of these posts talking about Pam Bondi wants to create a gun owners list. And I'm like, now, don't get me wrong, I'm not the hugest Pam Bondi fan. Not that I dislike her, I just don't trust her. I think, first of all, her voice is a little too whiny for me. I'm sorry, I'm not down with the whole whiny voice. Um, but um, but I did want to make sure to cover this because the DOJ has now responded. And they're basically saying, no, these claims are false. In fact, they went as far as to refer to them as fake news. It says here, DOJ official, gun groups clash over claim that Pam Bondi sought membership lists in lawsuit. It says here, several gun rights organizations have launched a campaign demanding U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi be fired, accusing her of a long anti-gun track record and claiming she ordered gun owner membership lists to be turned over to the federal government. However, senior Department of Justice official repudiated those accusations as a false characterization of the case, saying Bondi must abide by modern procedures to enforce injunctive relief in the light of the Trump v. Casa decision. Uh, and urged supporters of the president to reject the accusations. The issue giving rise to the complaints stem from a recent decision by the U.S. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, where a lawsuit brought by the Firearms Policy Coalition successfully challenged a federal law that prohibits the sale of firearms to young adults under the age of 21. Notably, the FPC previously secured victory in another legal challenge filed in a Texas federal court challenging an analogous state law limiting handgun sales to young adults under 21. There, Judge Robert Pittman found the law violated the Second Amendment, and after the state withdrew its appellate challenge, the decision was left in place. The current Louisiana case began with the attempt to obtain relief from the victory. When the court issued an order requiring the plaintiff parties, including FPC and the Second Amendment Foundation, the Louisiana Shooting Association, to submit a list of their members who reside in the Fifth Circuit states, Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, to the court in order to ascertain who will be protected by the injunction. This triggered an avalanche of criticism from the gun rights groups. The first statement was the first was FPC, which issued a statement saying it would appeal the order that the Trump administration was continuing to deny millions of peaceable adults their right to bear arms. Quote, to be clear, FPC has never provided a list of its members to the government and never will, and the FPC statement said. The National Rifle Association of Gun Rights, or NAGR, launched a petition calling for Bondi to be fired, with its president, Dudley Brown, issuing a video statement wherein he listed the number of grievances in Bondi's record before turning to the case in hand. And there's a couple of things that I think to note here. Number one, the reason why people are cutting Bondi no slack is because she does have a record when it comes to the Second Amendment. That's not a very good one. She was supportive in Florida. She was attorney general in Florida when they banned 18 to 20-year-olds from being able to purchase firearms. She was the AG there in Florida and supported the idea of red flag laws. It's just, anyway, two of the most egregious anti-gun pieces of legislation that passed there in Florida after a school shooting that took place there. Um, she was a part of, or she was a part of those decisions. She supported those decisions. So, yeah, one is right to raise question about her. Now, in this particular case, what's going on here, though, is in order to get injunctive relief, what happens is in a decision that's made at the district level, the only people who really get the injunctive relief are those who are part of the case, and that's members who are people who are members of these organizations. At least that's what they're trying to say. Only members of the organizations are the ones who are supposed to get uh, any sort of relief. At least be protected with the injunction, right? Everyone else it applies, but these guys don't have to deal with the injunction. They're at least they're. I want to put this. They are able to purchase firearms. We'll just put it that way. Once the case moves up, if an appellate court rules in the favor of the gun rights of gun rights, then everyone within that jurisdiction, within that district, is now is exempt. Right? They now have the ability to purchase the firearms. Anyone 21 and over. And once it goes to the Supreme Court, then if they win the ruling there, then it affects the entire country. So, are they looking for membership lists? Not really. Now, they could grant. Now, here's the thing I will say. They're doing what is technical, but in the end, they could just grant injunctive relief to everybody. You shouldn't have to be a member because if it's deemed to be unconstitutional, then as soon as someone goes under the age of 20, goes to buy a gun, between 18 and 20 goes to buy a gun, it should then apply to them, even though they're not in the case. Because the law itself is anyway. That's the problem. So that's the problem right there. So that's what it is. As much as I am not a fan of Pam Bondi, uh, she's not right here, but she's not wrong here. Like I said, they could just provide. They could just allow the injunction to apply to everybody, and I don't know why they did not just do that. It probably very easily could be someone in her department decided, yeah, this is the way we're going to handle it. That could very easily be it. I don't know. But anyway, like I said, I'm not a fan, so it's not my job to explain it for her. Anyway, moving right along. Dems claim uh, Dems caused the ACA funding issue that is at the center of the shutdown. Now, you might recall that one of the main things that they're wanting is not just they're not just after the healthcare for illegals, but they want to see the ACA or the Obamacare subsidies extended because there's a sunset. Now, what you're going to hear here is a gentleman who was a member of Congress when this was all debated and when all this came about. And what he's going to tell you is that Democrats didn't support this extension when they were in control and they had a chance to change it. And now all of a sudden they're blaming the Republicans. Check it out.
I mean, you have Donald Trump negotiating Mideast peace and flying to Egypt to oversee an agreement between Hamas and Israel. And meanwhile, Chuck Schumer is parading around the Senate, trying to stage a photo op. I mean, the split screen between actual governance of the Trump administration and just a Senate Democrats trying to figure out their message, right? Senator Van Hollen pointed out, or he called the expiring Obamacare subsidies a ticking time bomb the Republicans planted. They were introduced in ARPA, the American Rescue Plan, in 2021. I know, I was in Congress. We all voted against it on the Republican side. That was a Democrat budget reconciliation bill. It got to the Senate, and it needed 50 Senate votes. They talked about making it permanent, could not get unified Democratic support to make it permanent. It came up again in the Inflation Reduction Act. They kicked it can down the road. Again, solely Democrats voting in support of this could not get Democrats to agree to make these permanent. And now somehow, years later, it's the Republicans that are the sticking point. You were right in March.
See, and what he's pointing out here is now, these are the extensions. So these are subsidies that were put in place after COVID. So these are post-COVID. These are COVID subsidies to help as a result of COVID. I don't know if you're aware of this yet. Maybe you need to pull your mask down if you're not. COVID's not really a thing. At least it's not a thing the way that it was. It's not the pandemic that it was back in 2020, 2021. Largely, we have recovered economically post COVID. So, yeah, even the Democrats are like, yeah, no, we're not going to do this. And they've had every chance. They've had every chance. They've been in control plenty of times. They had a president. They had the presidency. They could have fixed this or changed this at any time, and they couldn't get Democrats to do it to make it permanent. Why? Because even many of the Democrats understood this is a temporary thing. It was always meant to be a temporary thing. There's never meant to be permanent funding. And as a result, now we're looking at a government shutdown. Which, by the way, I don't know about y'all. I'm not really feeling it. I haven't felt it yet. I'm not saying that nobody's feeling it. I'm saying I don't know anybody who's actually feeling it. So, anyway, that's a good kind of question. Good thing to kind of check up on and be kind of keep an eye on. But once again, the narratives around this thing are completely crazy because once again, Democrats are trying to blame Republicans, and even the media is like, you know, I was watching Jake Tapper the other day, and he's talking to the Democrats, and he's like, look, you know, every other time we have covered the government shutdowns, the majority party wants to pass a clean budget or a clean CR, and the opposition party refuses to vote for it. And we've always blamed or put the onus then on the party that's refusing to vote for it. We've always said they're the ones instituting the shutdown. So how is this different? And they couldn't come up with a single thing. Literally could not come up with a single thing. And that's because they are wrong. Anyway, moving right along. We've now come to the point of our show where we have our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, one word. Get your Hog Holster today. You know, President Trump is, well, let's just put it this way. People have referred to President Trump in a lot of ways. I have even heard him referred to as crazy. And this is the first time I will say this. This is the first time I've ever heard him being referred to as crazy and it be a positive thing. And it is none other than Joe Rogan. You got to hear this one.
Like, oh, he's a crazy person. I'm like, yeah, that's the only kind of person that would survive what you try to do to him. Right. That's the only kind of guy that gets through. Like, you want a perfect person? A perfect person morally falls apart by the time they've been indicted and they've 34 counts, felony counts. Like, your whole body's just destroyed by the stress of you possibly going to jail for the rest of your life. You have to be a fucking insane person to ride that out and not look like anything even happened. Then you get shot. Yeah. You get up after you got shot. You're fucking bleeding from your ear and you go fight, fight, fight. You gotta be a crazy person to get through. He's a nightmare. For anybody that's trying to rig a system, like, that guy's the nightmare. He's the final boss of fuck you, you know?
Yeah, pretty much that's what's going on right there. So anyway, was just good stuff. And you know, it was really tough. It is really tough to deal with what he had to deal with. But you know what? You know how he gets through it? He gets through it with a good amount of humor. And talking about that humor, let's show a little bit of that humor right here. That is hilarious. That was Tampon Timmy doing his dance for the folks. But that's not the only video. And then, by the way, I don't know who did this other one, but Democrats are not the only ones who are the victims of the sombrero.
To my illegal alien amigos in the city of El Chicago, please go back to your casita. El Governor Pritzker es mucho retardo. He can't protecto you. If you stay in El Chicago, you will be arrestido and deporto back to your shitholio. Gracias, amigos. Oh, and when you come back legally, make sure you el voto
for J.D. Vance. That's what he's talking about. Anyway, this last one here, and if you've ever those of you who are older, like myself, let's just say you kind of feel Eddie Murphy's pain in this one.
Trying to do age-appropriate action.
I look at my leg and my foot and my ankle, my meniscus. I know I tore my whole back out.
When you get our age, you have to pay. If you whip somebody's ass when you our age, you kind of whip your own ass too. So take his ass to the hospital and take me to the hospital as well.
Yeah, that is kind of like that. I tell you, as someone who plays basketball on the regular, I have just, wow, it's been interesting to say the least. But yeah, when you get older, if you get in a fight, the only fighting I've done since I've been older is Krav Maga. I've done it in the dojo, and I will just tell you, I learned real quick. There's a reason why I don't fight for a living, because I don't like getting hit. I don't like getting hit. I get hit. You get used to it. You get over not wanting to get hit. But anyway, you get over it. Anyway, folks, that's going to be it for today's program. But before we go, we're going to give one more quick shout out to our sponsors. We've got Hitman Industries rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase at any length. We've got the California Republican Assembly working to help elect conservatives at all levels of government, school board, all the way up to President of the United States. Check them out at cragop.org. We've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters available on the market at hogholsters.com. And then finally, we've got, we've got the place where you can find all things tactical except the gun. That will be uscombatgear.com. And with that, we're going to go ahead and call it a day. We will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow being Thursday, so it'll be Throat Punch Thursdays. Till then, y'all have fun, stay safe, and we will see you mañana.